Thank you. So we start with first question to Srinivas. Am I audible clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, question is around the rise of digital commerce during the COVID period. Is it sustainable? Your thoughts, please.
So I think there has. So I think there is a trajectory when you look at 2020 to 2021. There has been a trajectory which was there. I think with now, I think the stabilization has happened, and the pace at which it will go further will actually be much faster than what we have seen in COVID. So I think it is sustainable, and I think we will see more digital e-commerce coming in as we speak.
Okay, so Rahul, questions to you. You mentioned about the misinformation or incorrect information in your presentation. So this question is around that topic. The, can you shed some more light on what are the regulations available in the country for addressal of the misleading or inaccurate information around certain subject leading to negative perceptions? So maybe you can talk about your experiences around such stories. Yeah.
So, 3 weeks ago, I suddenly got a call from a friend in Australia who I had not spoken to in the last, probably about, I mean, we had spoken before COVID, we had not spoken after that. And he said, "You need money." I said, "No, I don't need money. Why?" He said, "I just got a message from you on Instagram saying that you're in need of money and can you send me some money?" So I said, "What is happening?" So what had happened was somebody had created a fake account on Instagram which looked just like mine and had sent out connection requests to all the people that I had on my Instagram, and whoever connected with whoever this person was, he sent out messages saying, "I'm in need of money." Well, thanks to this, whoever this person is, I got to speak to many of the friends I had not spoken for a long time because they all started calling up and saying, "Do you need money? Are you okay?" And I said, "Good to hear your voice. I'm perfectly fine." Now, what would I do to get rid of that fake account? Who can I go to? It is basically misinformation in many ways. It's a different kind of misinformation, but it is misinformation. So where do I go? What do I do? Unfortunately, there aren't any fixed regulations. There are, advertising bodies and TV, newspaper and television associations which go for self-regulation, which means you can go to them and ask them, but there's no specific government body I can go and report the matter to. So what did I do? And what we would do usually if we find any kind of misinformation is actually connect with that social media handle. So I sent a message to Instagram saying that, a fake account has been created, this needs to be taken out, and I told everybody else who was being connected over that fake account to report that account, and finally that fake account got taken off 3 days later. But unfortunately, there are no regulations. It's mostly about trust, and it's mostly about all these media companies hearing you and taking steps to make sure that any bit of misinformation that appears about you is taken down. But it's a process. It's not easy. It's difficult, and that makes our lives very difficult, all of us, because if tomorrow we find something that is not correct, we have to sort of make a very proactive effort to get it taken off the social media handles.
Thank you, Rahul. So Srinivas, this question related to your study done by the team about the e-commerce business in poultry specifically. So what percentage of digital commerce is to the total trade of the poultry products? So your insights and what is the outlook you are foreseeing?
So overall, I think, as I said, right, the D2C business is approximately to the extent of $200 billion overall D2C e-commerce. When you look at the poultry segment, it would be 2 to 3%, which is very, very small right now. But the pace at which we would see this happening in poultry along with other D2C platforms would be to the tune of 20-25% compared to what poultry industry is moving at around 12-14%. I think we'll see the pace at which the digital commerce in the poultry and eggs will happen will be to the tune of 20-25%.
Maybe Harish, you would like to take some questions from your end. Harish?
Yeah. There is one interesting question. And he wants to know that, yes, we are farmers. And you must be aware that how the business right now is going on, that they are selling it to the traders and then it goes, the trader sells again to another retailer, or, that is how the link is. And this is our 90% of the business or 95% of the business. And how the digital part of marketing for me, like a farmer or a trader, can come in. I want to do something, but how to do it? That is what his question is.
So, Harishi, I think there is a lot of disruption happening from the food service. Today, I think the larger portion of it is more integration where large companies operate with the farmers, give inputs, and then they buy back the bird that was reared, right? I think when you look at the overall food service ecosystem that is emerging, they want players like a small farmers who they want to look at traceability systems. They want the entire data transparency which is there from the farm, the inputs that they're using. Today, the data traceability with an organized player is limited to a B2B situation, and it is exposed to a trader. And post the trader when they sell to any butcher or anyone who is operating it for the processing, the traceability is lost. So food service chains today might not have traceability from the farm to the consumer. Such farmers who are very proactive or progressive in their thinking in terms of putting the entire data architecture, data systems, or capturing the data that they are actually using at the farm level. I think a lot of food service changed, or the emerging digital commerce players might want to go and look at integration backward and looking at traceability systems. That will actually create a lot of differentiation for them on the front end.
Okay, meanwhile, Harish reads. So just now we got a question from Mr. Khan, with the Executive Secretary of Karnataka Poultry Breeder Association. So Rahul, this is for you. How to combat the negative social media posts against poultry sector? So this question to you. Maybe you already elaborated, but specific.
So, you see, the point I was making earlier in the presentation was, you got to keep knocking your positive story out. And keep knocking it so hard and so well and so often that the negative part gets drowned. Other than that, the reality is that you cannot stop. I mean, today, all of us are journalists, right? All of us have a camera.
These are the papers for sir. You have to give
There used to be a camera company called Kodak which lost out. In 2008, the world's biggest camera company was not anybody who made cameras. It was a company called Nokia that made phones. And today, everybody has a phone, and everybody has the phone, and everybody has a camera. You can make videos, you can take photographs, you can write what you want to, you can get away. When Osama bin Laden died, when he was killed, that news did not break on television. That news broke on Twitter. So the point is that all of us are journalists, and therefore all of us feel entitled enough to share our point of view and let the world know what we think. Whether it is from, buying a new dress, or, buying new shoes, or eating in a certain place, or going for a wedding, or, taking pictures of an accident site, or saying anything that you want to about a company or a product. So there's a certain gentleman who's pretty well known in Delhi. He wanted to buy a new Mahindra Jeep, XUV 700. And when he went to the showroom, he was told there's a long waiting period. And, in Delhi, people like to throw weights. So obviously, he must have said, you don't know who I am. And the guy said, it doesn't matter. It's still going to take you 14 months before you get that damn Jeep. So he came back and he put out a long rant against the product and the company on his LinkedIn page. right? Now, anybody who didn't know the background would think it's a bad product. I would presume, Mahindra would have given him a jeep out of turn just to make sure that he withdraws his post and keeps shut. But there is no way you can stop it. So it's just about monitoring well, making sure and knowing that something has appeared which is detrimental to your business, and then just go out and keep telling your positive stories. And more important, if you are proactively telling your positive story, then the negativity doesn't work, right? Then that odd person who comes out and says nasty things about you is irrelevant, because the world still believes that you are a good guy.
Thank you. So this question is asked by Mr. Aman Attar from Narsinghpur Chemical. I think this question everybody wanted to know the answer. He's asking, what is the source of fake news? For example, you mentioned that COVID got spread by eggs or chicken. So what is the traceability of this fake news? Maybe you can comment on it.
So some years ago, I presume all of us have heard about Tata Salt, right? Tata Salt came into this marketplace back in early 80s, and its USP was that it had iodine, which no other salt had, right? Some years ago, this little WhatsApp thing started going around saying, oh, Tata Salt is bad, it has no iodine, okay? And everybody wondered what was happening. Before you know what was happening, housewives on Facebook started sharing that. Now, if housewives who are your main customers, they are the one who buy salt, right? If they start talking bad about your salt, it's going to definitely hit your product, and it's going to hit your margins, and it can hit your sales, everything. All that started happening. What do you do? So then, from what I understand, this huge effort was made to identify all the people, all the housewives on Facebook, and individual messages were sent out to them, one by one. That took some days to happen. But the reality was, at that point in time, there was somebody who was going to come out with a competing brand in the market, right? So it was competition that hit Tata Salt, and hit it badly and negatively. But how do you know? You don't. You don't, because who's putting out that WhatsApp message is anybody's guess. WhatsApp is not going to help you trace it, right? It cannot probably, it may not want to, whatever be the reason. But before you know, like I said earlier, before you know, it's out there. So that's why it's important to be very aware that things can happen to you and you're prepared for it. And when you're prepared for it, there are no surprises. Then you know exactly what to do. And there are strategies and ways to deal with this situation, and what to say, who to say, where to say, when to say, The 5 Ws and 1 H of journalism that they talk about works very well, any bit of information.
Harish, back to you.
Yeah, this question is for Srinivas. I'll combine these two questions. There is one farmer, and this is also another farmer. And he says that the villages don't trust online services except payments. And the farm, so he is also a farmer. So when he wants to do online services, he finds it a bit difficult. So he's asking, do you have any solutions for that?
Let me try, Harishji. So there are a lot of new age digital platforms where they want to enlist farmers, right? So I think it's more about exploratory situation to identify the right digital platform, do some kind of background check in terms of the depth of marketplace that they are in, and then get enlisted. So you need to have your own diligence to apply and do the filtration of it.
So Srinivas, this is for you. This question is asked by Mr. S.K. Sharif from NB Farms. So he's asking, as a part of digital marketing, how all the chicken shops and all the wet market stakeholder should be ready to face the challenges?
As I said, again, it will be a combination of physical and digital. I don't think the current pace at which the digital age is coming up, it will be a combination of physical with the digital infrastructure. It is better to be open and embrace digital rather than fight with it, or stand on two sides of the table and see what is coming and hitting us. I think it is easy. It will be more proactive for the physical platforms to embrace digital, make their internal organization ready to build a digital strategy, build the digital infrastructure within the organization, and look at future potential and unleash it. Yeah.
So Rahul, this comes to you. Yeah, sure, sure.
So I think there will always be two kinds of people. People who will buy online without feeling the stuff, and people who would want to go out, see the stuff, touch it, feel it, and then take a decision. And that's never going to change. I mean, it's the same case all over the world. That's how human beings are built. I mean, you cannot change that. I mean, there are certain things we would want to buy by holding it and feeling it, and there are certain things you can buy sitting online. It's also generational to a certain extent. Most of the younger people are happy buying their world online because they don't have to get out of their comfort zones. But, a lot of people like us, even slightly younger, would still probably prefer to go both ways.
Thanks, Rahul. So this question is asked by Mr. Vikas Gaur from Avitech Nutrition. So he wanted to know your views that there is a campaign, Sunday ho ya Monday, Roz Khao Monday, promoted by National Egg Coordination Committee, started in 1990s, he said. So he's asking that campaign, how it can be relevant in the current times, and will it add to increasing the per capita consumption and also the realization of the egg prices?
So it was a wonderful campaign. I mean, it has been one of the strongest campaign. I think all of us know about Amul. Every day it comes out with a new, advertisement basis something that's happened. I think this NECC campaign was strong. It still rings a bell amongst many of us, but I think a lot of people who were born after the campaign was launched may not be in a position to connect with it because they've not seen it, so you need to sort of figure it out. But a campaign like that obviously helps. It helps because it tells people a story. And it tells people that if you do a certain thing, then that's advantageous to you. So, I mean, as long as, again, you're talking about the positive parts, it sits well with people.
Okay. So, Srinivas, there are two questions from Mr. Pawan Sai from Shri Poultry Farms. So, there are two questions. So, first one is different and second one. So, I'll take first one. According to you, is it hard to convince people to buy frozen or packaged meat? Your views?
I think it's again the consumer usage and the way you actually share the perception. So it's more perception driven. The transition from fresh in the Indian consumer mindset, I think transition from fresh to chilled to frozen is a journey, and it will take time for that evolution to happen, right? And it's also experience of the consumer to move that journey. Some, like I said, the new age consumers who are less than 30 years of age might still look at experimenting with it, being open to adoption. So you need to look at the early adopters in that particular 30 crore category and then look at penetration, right? So, but the larger set of it will still take time to move from fresh to chilled to frozen.
Okay, so the next one, I think any of you can also add up. So it's asking, by commercialization of packaged or frozen meat, don't you think it will take away employment from many people?
I think so again, right? It's all skilling that is possible. So I think that is again a perception of getting displaced. There will be new skills that need. Like for example, if I take an example of digital versus physical, I think the same physical teams which are working in marketing, sales, could get skilled and start performing the digital roles. So there is no displacement per se. I think it's more about upskilling yourself and taking those roles.
Maybe Rahul, you want to add something?
I agree with him. Because, I mean, it's like saying that, robots are going to take away the world, right? That's not going to happen because there'll be certain things robots will be able to do, certain things will still need human intervention. One of the fears is that artificial intelligence is going to kill many professions, I mean, I think lawyers are very worried about it. But the reality is that you still need that human brain and human input even for the AI to work properly. So I think it's not something one should fear. I mean, it's always about us upskilling, reskilling, doing different things, and those opportunities will always be available.
Thanks.
Rahul, one question. When there is a campaign, we run a campaign, and the campaign is done by, say, an association or a federation, or the campaign is either done by a company for their brand building. Which is more effective? Or, I mean, does it really sometimes happen that the federation or, some advertise comes from milk producing federation? It will not have that kind of an effect if a particular company or the brand does it. So
Depends entirely on what your messaging is. Depends entirely on your story that you are telling. If your story is strong, it'll sell, right? So, and if your story is weak, I mean, there are brands which have died because their story has been weak. There are enough examples scattered around, globally as well as here. But the reality is, what is it that you're pitching? And for that, you need to understand what is it that people want to hear, right? And that's where perception mapping comes into play. Once you have figured out what is it that people are likely to accept, then you build your messages and your overarching narrative and take it to people. So then it becomes easier for them to consume it and accept it. I mean, it's like if you look at, political slogans or political parties, right? They convince people. They convince people because people feel that what is being said is good for them. It's going to matter. It's going to make a difference to their lives. So if you can carve out those kind of messages where people think, okay, this is something that's going to have a positive impact on my life. मेरा फायदा होगा, तो वो मानेंगे लोग,
Thanks. So this one is for Srinivas. You just touch upon a couple of topics, but on the AR and VR. So industry wanted to know the tools like augmented reality and virtual reality, how it can be applied in poultry sector. Maybe you can coin few examples according to your understanding.
So I think the AR and VR or augmented reality and virtual reality, for example, the quality of meat, right, and the perception of the end consumer in terms of the quality of meat is a case, for example, right? So a lot of perception is there. When you talk with meat lovers, they say a lot of antibiotics go in, the quality of meat is not so great. So if we can create a VR or a AR showing the overall production practices to the consumer, how it is moving, and taking him in on a drive, on a virtual drive, which actually enable him change his perception. So I think that is one of the case that could be built, and that is one of the perceptions that you said, which is there in the media. So I think when you create these videos or move the consumer through the journey of the entire life cycle of how the egg is converting into meat, that actually creates a lot of perceptual change and actually make him move into the virtual world. Yeah, that's an example that simple.
So just to add where he stopped, it's all about storytelling, right? If you can take yourself to people and let them see who you are and what you do, and what you do is correct, because that's what is something that's going to impact that person, then that will work. I mean, AR, VR are basically tools, right? How you use a tool depends on what is it that you want to say and who do you want to say to.
Like for example, one of the key factors is ESG, right? Environmental sustainability and governance. So ESG is becoming a big metric for any of the players across the world right now. So poultry industry is conceived as one of the not so friendly ESG industries, right? Because of the pollution that it comes with, right? So again, creating AR and VR situations to actually create a situation where ESG is being deployed in their production situations or processing situations will again elevate the play on the front end. So it's basically creating their own storylines using the technologies which will change the game.
So I think, Harish, this question maybe you can answer as well. So the campaigns like Sunday Hoya Monday, nowadays they are missing. So is industry planning any mega campaign to create the awareness of egg consumption and also how the farmers can get a better remuneration?
we definitely have that in mind, and maybe today's session was just showing our intent.
Sure. Okay, Rahul, coming back to your story that about when you were handling this 120 odd companies, you were putting red, green, and yellow flags to see what kind of situation those companies are in a particular aspect of communication and emergency responses. So you did a bit of understanding of poultry sector now. So according to you, what could be the green flags, what could be the yellow, and what could be the red flags for our sector?
I think we did talk about it in practically every, presentation today. I think the red flags are any uncertainty from a business point of view that one has to be aware of. And within that, then you build up whether it is a health-related issue, whether it is your, whether it is your caged birds and open bird sort of a discussion, whether it is about, the hygiene at poultry farms, whether it is, whether your product is being delivered well, whether it is edible, whether it is infected. It could be anything, right? The thing is that the point to be understood and what I've been saying is that it's always better to put your heads together and map them out. Have them in front of you, and you have a mitigation strategy in front of you for each of the issues, and then nothing is a surprise. It all comes out very, very well. And it's amazing how often we end up doing this, because I remember there was one big refinery which was having a problem. And I asked them, I said, do you have a crisis mitigation plan? They said, yes, we have. So I said, can I see it? So they brought it and put this huge thick wad of paper in front of me. It was what to do if there was a fire at the refinery. I said, it is an operational crisis. I'm talking about a communications crisis. Does this mitigation plan have anything on managing reputation, perception, and what goes out in the media for you? Because if it doesn't, then you're just managing it internally. Your external environment is still open to criticizing.
So Rahul, you did flag some challenges for the poultry sector, the likes of AMR, welfare issues, and the trend of veganism catching up. These are the things which are coming in our sector. So how do you assess the impact of these negative perceptions? For example, how much is the impact of AMR? Maybe this is minuscule, or we need to just ignore that. Some trends are coming up, but whether all of them require equal attention or something we ignored as well?
No, everything requires attention today, because you don't know what shape and form it's going to take. You have absolutely no idea. You might think it's one of those things that can go away or will go away, or we'll be able to throw it away and push it away. And tomorrow morning you'll wake up and suddenly find, Maggie is a good example, a very good example. It's a case study which one needs to see on and on and on, and how they finally managed to sort of, manage the crisis. That's another case study. It was a wonderful thing what happened there.
So this is a long question, and I read out, and please pay attention. It's a bit long in a way. Dr. Sunil is asking whether egg is a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. Question. This question may look foolish, but our country scenario about egg consumption on the basis of religious taboos. And poultry, for example, take North India. Poultry farms are producing so much of the eggs, but because of these reasons, they are not considering consuming it. And they are giving more preference to milk as compared to egg. So this is the question. It basically is asking, egg is a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, how we are promoting that?
I think the whole industry here, or the front benchers, I would say, they are the right people to answer this. But even Mahatma Gandhi first said that it is vegetarian. So let's say it's vegetarian. And the most important thing is that if somebody is a vegetarian and he's not eating eggs, I can tell you one thing, anybody visiting me and he says he's not eating egg, another 10 minutes I ensure that he starts eating egg. So that's what we are supposed to do it.
Srinivas, one more point to you. How do you see the trend of this lab-based meat or lab-based animal proteins? So they are not actually the animal protein, but they are produced within the lab.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, okay, so it was, I think Mr. Chandrasekhar was speaking about the plant-based meat. When you look at the numbers, in the last 2 years, the growth has been there both in the Western world, and India also has started innovating in the plant-based meat situations. But what we see recently in the last 6 months is the investments are getting dried in the plant-based meat category, and there is a deceleration in terms of the growth in the Western market as well. The challenges that they are facing is basically in the innovation of the product. The product has not been acceptable to the consumers' palate. So that is one of the challenges in the Western world, and in India as well, it's under evolution. So the pace, the hype which was created, and the numbers which was there for last 3-4 years, I think last 6 months the trend is on a decline. That was the latest one. So I don't see that coming in because it requires a lot of innovation in the product category itself. Yeah.
Last question from my side to Rahul. Rahul, this e-commerce is also posing a challenge on the safety of the transactions and also the data privacy. So how do you foresee that these two challenges are going to be a deterrent, or you can say how we manage these situations of safety aspect and privacy aspect? Maybe Srinivas, later you can also add to this.
So, I mean, I think we are well on our way to take e-commerce to a different level. The digitalization that is happening in the economy is a reality. Safety is a concern, and I think many government departments, even police in many states, are doing a fairly good job in making people aware of what could be the challenges and warning them to do certain things and not do certain things. But in Delhi recently, I mean, there was a WhatsApp message going around saying that you haven't paid your electricity bill, and if you don't pay by this evening, your power connection will be cut. And everybody, that message went out to everybody and said, pay on this link, give us your numbers. Some people actually fell for that trap, but others who knew and who had read up and who were aware quickly realized this was some kind of a scam and a fraud, so they didn't go for that. But I think people will become aware as they go forward, because I think all of us have seen that Netflix Prime thing, Jamtara, which kind of
Jamtara movie. Yeah.
Jamtara, which I mean, that's a reality, and people will try and scam you, and there will be frauds around. But I think increasingly people are also becoming aware of these things, and they will take steps to make sure.
So Harish, anything from your side?
I am so convinced by all the speakers, and especially Srinivas and Rahul Sharma, that if we really implement, because they have highlighted all the aspects of marketing and brand building, and if we are able to follow, or we understand what they are saying and we do it or we implement it, I think next year in Knowledge Day, we will be talking about how to handle this unprecedented growth of poultry industry.
So let's give a big round of applause to both the speakers. Thank you so much, Rahul and Srinivas.
Thank you.
Both the speakers are around, so if you have any specific question, you can want to talk one-on-one, please do so. They are here. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.